Welcome back to Mompreneurs, The Real Deal. We are here again with Rachel Drody, and we have been through a lot in this hour. We talked about the grieving process, and we talked about how to build yourself back up. And Rachel just shared with us that she is now basically gone from, the caterpillar to now the emerging butterfly. And, Rachel, can you talk to us about how other moms can do this, and mompreneurs can start afresh and get to choose, like you are getting this opportunity to?
So I really feel like it's this butterfly, this rising phoenix that's inside of me, just coming out of the ashes. One of the things that I read about, and I think a lot of us go through trauma phases. There's something that's going to happen. It doesn't just have to be death. It can be something. And I read Sheryl Sandberg, she was the COO of Facebook, and she read this book about Option B, and her husband had passed away in it. And one of the most inspirational things that I'd read in this book was bouncing forward. There's ways to handle grief, and that you could either be set in your position, you could fall backwards and let it take you down, or you can be in this small group of people that bounce forward and you're making your life better. That stuck with me. That was like, I get to choose. This is that part. That was reading that sentence. So it was reading books that I think always challenge your thought, and finding good business books, and they're great to get with your business partners and find those types of things. I love hearing, advice that you've got for different books, and I love hearing from my girlfriends. It's also good quiet time for your brain where you're just focused in on and trying to pull myself out of survival mode for my body. Mm-hmm. How do I calm that? How do I bring that back down so I can handle the rest of my life too? So, some of the tools that, I'm using are definitely, I'm taking care of my body and who I am. It's drinking all the water. It's making sure to go to the gym every day just to get it out. What I'm, feeding myself, holistic health practices, and, how am I dealing with those types of things? But it's also, what kind of goals am I making for myself? And looking at this like, okay, this happened. Now let's go. I can grow from this. And where am I going to also lead and help other people? Because I would like to be able to do that. That inspires me so much. That gets me out of bed, is having that. So those are some of the pieces that I'm using.
I really love that. And so for everyone who's watching this, and maybe they're in a grieving process and maybe they're not, as you've emerged and you've learned that it's an opportunity for growth, I can go forward, what am I going to do next, and having your dream team, break it down into little steps so that if somebody's in the process, they can just say, okay, let's do this, and then once we get there, then we think about this. Break it down for us so that we can really have something that people can action today.
So some of the steps that I would definitely start with is sit down and break down. Where do you want to see yourself 6 months, 12 months, and 5 years? Professionally, what do you want to see for your business? What do you want to see for your life? And then what are these outside fun goals that are for you? So you've got some of that happiness. And looking at those was huge. Also making sure you have looked at who is surrounding you. Are the right people in your sphere? That's huge. And if they're not, if there are people dragging you down, that's not where you need to be. I think all moms, we go through a grieving part. We've lost ourselves and who we were prior to being a mom. We have to grieve that old person. And I think all of us have this, right? My mind had just been my business partner, but I was still coming out of that from having 2 tiny babies. Who am I now? Now I'm, responsible caretaker and everything else, and I'm trying to manage. I still have to order groceries on my phone where it looks like, I need to get groceries delivered and this happened and everything else. But it's taking down all of these little small goals to get me to where I need to be and celebrating those. Because it is hard. Business is hard. The economy is hard right now. There's all these different things. It's hard. Where am I going to celebrate? And I need to figure that out, because if not, I can't stay stuck in that trauma loop. I cannot. I need to be forward facing and I need to feel good about it.
So have something really exciting to celebrate with. Do you
Absolutely.
plan out your celebrations for different milestones?
It can be something as small as, I just needed to get this stuff done. And one of the things that I have realized really does help, small celebrations, is dance parties in my house. My kids and I throw down in my house, and those are small ones. Then it's small ones, and it's not always got to be something materialistic. I get to go and do this, or, I'm going to go for a walk and do some of those other things that I'm using positive things to refuel my small goals. gotta find a new bookkeeper. As soon as I get that, I'm gonna go on this kind of a walk and I'm just gonna listen to my music and kind of chill out. I use those as my celebrations. And then my big ones, yes, these are, like dream goal. I wanna make sure that, I get to Iceland and do that kind of a trip. I want to go and do these types of things. And I have rated my trips to, these are attached goals that I've got.
Yeah.
And I need something to look forward to. And I think a lot of people, we forget, we just get so bogged down in what do I need to do today and what's on fire, that we've got to pull our head up and look up and go, I've got goals. Like I started this and I'm doing this for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely. I really feel that very strongly. That's one of the things that we talk about with all our coaching clients is you have to celebrate each step in the journey and you have to have those things to look forward to. And I love that you have these big goals and you've even rated and prioritized the trips that you're going to take, because a lot of times as entrepreneurs we do that for our business, but we fail to do it in life. And I'm gonna just share, because I'm really feeling this from Rachel, is we have to step back so we can lift our head up and take a full view of what's happening. And so if you're watching this and you're hearing this and you're like, wow, I have none of this in place, the best place to start is to step back and take a view. What's happening now? Where am I now? And where do I want to be? She said that. What is your 6-month, 12-month, and 5-year goals? And then what are you doing? Who are you being and how are you thinking and how is the world seeing you differently once you've gotten to that level? I think that's how we break down into the smaller steps. Sorry, I can't. The coach in me is like, okay, I know some people are going to email us and be like, okay, she told us this, but how do I do this? Well, when we put ourselves out there and we say, okay, right now, this is what I'm doing. What I want to do is maybe go to the gym every day and make sure I have personal development time. We're going to break it down into little chunks, because now we've had the time to step back, look back, and say, oh, okay, this is where I want to be and who I want to be and who I'm becoming. So then you break it down into the little steps that you can celebrate along the way. I think it's so incredibly important that you brought that up. And I'm going to ask Sarah too, like, celebrating the small steps. You have had a grieving process. You've moved out of full-time being in medicine. You still are engaged in medicine, but that is an identity loss to some extent as you shift into entrepreneurship, and you're still responsible for all the things. So how have you moved forward, and what does that look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. And truly it was, I do still practice, so I'm not fully in identity crisis, but that was a huge identity problem for me. Going from, this is who I am. This is literally all I've ever wanted to be, is a doctor, and I'm a doctor. And now, wait a minute, I'm a COO of a completely different. And so that's been a really big life change for me in the past year. And baby steps, basically what Rachel said. It's all one thing at a time and looking at a bigger picture. Exactly what you just said. What did I want? And that's what I did. I stepped back and said, what do I want in my life? And what is the most important? And I think, all of us have in common that we're moms and entrepreneurs, obviously. And so it's interesting to me because I always knew I wanted to become a mom, and I always knew I wanted to work. And I never thought of how that was going to go together. And so that's been a huge process for me to begin with, was to figure out what support systems that I could have in place to do that, because it was something that just never even occurred to me. So I think accepting help, and I think, looking at big picture with an identity shift, if you will, it's still in process.
Oh, it always is. And I think that one of the biggest takeaways throughout, and it's been a common thread throughout this whole conversation, is be imperfect. We're human. We're all imperfect. None of us are perfect. We're always becoming. We're always growing. And it's never going to be without the messy. It's always messy when we're growing. And so it's important to recognize that it's not just us. And that person who you look to, you think, man, she's got it all together. Guess what? She's got messy too. It's just she hasn't trusted you with what that looks like. And I think that was really a good driver, and it was a thread through all of this. We do have to wrap. We're coming to a close, Rachel, but any last nugget of wisdom, because you have been through so much in the last year alone, but really you've had quite an exceptional career and business moving forward. Any last nuggets of knowledge that you want to bestow on everyone? Can't talk today.
I think one of the things my mom always said to me is, this too shall pass. And I've seen a lot of people put that on, but it's realizing in the moments of joy, this will pass. And there's something sweet with that, so enjoy it and be in the moment while you can. And then when you are sad, it will pass too. And it'll change. You're not stuck. And it's the only thing that you have control of is where are you going to go next and how are you going to handle that next, and keep looking towards that, because it's hard to be in the present and say, I'm going to enjoy this moment, but to realize, and when stuff is going wrong, that it's okay because you've got goals. Things happen, and accepting not only yourself, which is so hard to do when something goes wrong, because you want to beat yourself up, whether you caused it or not. It is just being able to let go of holding tight, because you're going to hold yourself to such high standards. Other people aren't holding them, you to those. It is you. And so it's okay to forgive yourself, and it's okay to let yourself be yourself. And you wouldn't hold anybody else to that, and nobody else is holding you to this, so it's okay. That is huge.
Thank you so much for this. It has been such a pleasure, Rachel. Thank you for showing up. And how can people reach out to you?
So we're at all of the marketing, social media, website, everything else. We're at all of the marketing, and it's Harper Grayson Communications.
Thank you so much. And you, yes, you are amazing guests. We are, unfortunately, at the end of this episode. What I want to hear and what Sarah wants to hear is, what is your biggest takeaway from today? What did you really love? And share your feedback, because that's what allows us to show up in spades for you and bring amazing guests such as Rachel. Thanks again, Rachel. Sarah, any last words?
No, I really appreciate you sharing your story with us. I think the biggest thing I would add is that I think looking at it as life happens for you and not to you can really shift your mindset as well.
And with that, folks, that is the best nugget of the day. Life happens for you, not to you. Go have an amazing rest of your day. Unfortunately, all good things come to an end, including the show, but we'll be here same time, same station next week. See you then.
This has been a Now Media Networks feature presentation. All rights reserved.